What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. Yes, we are back to full capacity, as you can see, with, back in the co-pilot chair. My Chewie, the homeboy Rob.
Well, it's a cool sidekick to be if I'm Chewbacca.
Right. Right, so it was a compliment. The compliment.
If Andy did not murder me before last week's episode, so that's if you were worried about that, I'm still here, alive.
Yes, I know. I'm pretty sure everyone was having conspiracy theories. Like, oh, Andy totally killed Robert. He put two in his head and left them in a shallow grave out in the desert. That, I think that was a prevailing theory.
I would have thought that.
Right. Yes, so we're back at full capacity, and it's pretty funny because last week we were supposed to, Robert was supposed to be on, and we were supposed to have this conversation, but because of Robert's work schedule, he wasn't able to join us. But it kind of worked out because of the most recent happenings, especially in the world of entertainment. So, but before we completely bum everyone out, we'll ease you into it. We'll keep it light, as we always do. So, let's get this conversation started.
All right.
Yes.
Let's do this.
Yeah. So, Robert, how have you been? I mean, for those of you who don't know, this is like the first time I'm actually talking to Robert in a pretty long time.
Yeah, I think this is the longest we've gone without talking to one another for, I think, in about a year.
Yeah. I mean, we were pretty hand in glove the last 8 or 9 months, just because working on the podcast, working on the show, working on your show. So
yeah. So yeah, we just it was kind of weird. Like I felt
somehow incomplete, right?
Weird, like not talking. To be honest, I didn't really talk to many people. I was on the brink of just by myself. Yeah.
Were you about to go Howard Hughes and grow out your fingernails and pee into mason jars?
That's always kind of a concern of mine because I could go not quite to that disgusting of a level, but yeah, kind of that hermit level. I was getting close, but that's now I feel like I'm back. I cut my hair, cut my fingernails, shaved. So I'm back in regular society amongst friends.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, but other than that, I've just in the little free time I've had, just been kind of trying not to melt to death, and been playing some games. What else have I been doing? Just kind of getting caught up on some series that I've been watching through like Netflix or YouTube or whatever. I've just kind of been getting caught back up on all the stuff I've been kind of putting off to the side. And things are good. Glad to be back.
It's been, for those of you who don't know, we're in the midst of a bit of a heat wave here in LA. And it's just been like oppressively hot. I would characterize it as that. I remember. That's interesting. Yeah, I remember a couple of weeks back. I went to go watch. I think I told the story already, but yeah, I went to go watch a movie with James, and just heading out to the theater, just like it felt like being in the oven.
Yep.
And but I mean now it's a little bit different. There's like a little bit more moisture in the air, so it's become like really kind of like humid and muggy and just like kind of gross just to be outside.
I feel like my eyeballs are sweating.
Yeah.
No, as most of my friends know, I'm a big fan of the summer. I love the summer. I like it to be hot as opposed to cold. But once it starts getting into like triple digits, like 112, and then it's also humid on top of that, that's where I'm like, no, that's not fun anymore. That's just that's oppressive. Yeah, as you said, oppressive is the great way to put it, because there's been a few days where I've had to work outside in that heat. Thankfully, I haven't been like directly in the sun, so that's kind of saved me. But even not being in the sun, it's just, oh man, it wears you out. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it does. And I mean, I feel really bad for road crews or, just generally anyone who has to work outdoors and be in direct sunlight. It just,
yeah. Well, I think it drives people like insane.
Yeah.
Where normal functioning people are just they can't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, my dad, he used to do landscaping and stuff, and so yeah, he was always outside. Working. He's always working outside and working with his hands. Yeah, and like he was like really dark, and for like really dark for a Korean person. And I mean, I guess I kind of inherited that from him, but
Right.
so yeah, I definitely have I sympathize greatly for anyone who has to work outdoors.
Yeah, definitely the if I was on one of those road crews, I definitely wouldn't want to be outside. I mean, hell, like just working, getting mail out into the mail stream, like working outside and doing that. That's
Oh yeah, like the litter carriers. Yeah.
Those like I don't envy those guys at all, because it's it's rough, man. But yeah, at the same time, things could be a lot worse. I just thankfully that we have lots of water to kind of keep me hydrated. So like I said, could be worse.
Yeah.
And,
well, yeah, you survived. Because I mean, you survived Prime Day.
Oh God. So there was so much stuff that was coming in.
Right.
It's one of those things where there's always the people who blast Amazon and how like Jeff Bezos is like this horrible monster that's this oppressive I guess owner of this company that's kind of using people and so on and so forth. But damn, like Amazon is pretty damn convenient, and especially when those deals come out. I mean, there's always, especially if you're a Prime member, there's always deals going on.
Right.
But like the Prime days is where it's opened up to everybody, so everyone gets free shipping. Everyone gets those deals, and I guess there's even like there's a lot of deals on a lot of different things all at once. And I know like last year, I bought a. Was it last year? No, it was a couple years ago. A couple years ago, I bought a bunch of stuff. Like I bought new headphones. I bought a bunch of games that were on sale. This year I didn't really do as much just because, well, A, I was trying to save money, but two, it's like I don't want to create more work for me. So, I just bought one game. But yeah, it's for kind of a look behind the curtain for people who are curious. Yeah, a lot of those, like, normally we get one, Amazon shipment a day with, probably with, I'd say like 300 to 500 packages, daily, which, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not all that much. But when like the Prime days and then Christmas, we're getting easily, twice that amount of packages coming in, and then there's multiple shipments. Like, we'll be getting, if we're only getting like 4 pallets and on a normal day, we're getting like 12 on during like these type of times. So it gets pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that I end up having to stay behind and work more, and I'm not complaining about that because I get more money for doing that. It's just
well, as long as you're getting paid.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it keeps me from doing fun stuff like this that I like to do, but at the same time, it's not like I'm doing it for free. So
yeah,
it's one of those trade-offs that I occasionally have to make.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, well, as long as you're not, as long as you weren't doing it, for nothing, or I mean, as long as you're not getting just salary, and they're actually paying you for the overtime and all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm getting all the overtime and all that fun stuff. So actually, I haven't had a day off in, it's been over a week now.
Well, I mean, well, let's take advantage of the time you do have, and let's roll off into our first thing, which will be the Temple of Doom review.
All right, movie of the week.
Movie of the week. So Robert, why don't you give the good people a synopsis?
Okay. Well, this is we're moving along through the Indiana Jones trilogy. We're not going to do that horrible one that came out years later.
Yeah, we don't. That's not. Yeah, we here at Nocturnal Transmissions. That's not canon.
We don't recognize.
Yeah, we don't recognize it as canon.
One thing I had to say about Temple of Doom is that because it's been a while actually since I've watched Temple of Doom. It's probably been a good 10 years since I've seen Temple of Doom, and I realized that I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark a lot. I don't think I've seen this one quite as much, and there was a lot that I was like I had forgotten about in this movie. I mean, obviously I remember the characters, Short Round. Who could forget Short Round?
Yeah. It's like, okie dokie, Dr. Jones.
Yeah, yeah. And then the singer that he kind of sort of like protects and kidnaps at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the first scene is he takes her hostage, because the I guess the crime boss he was dealing with is trying to double cross him, and so he takes the lounge singer as a hostage.
Yeah.
So.
So the other thing that I for whatever reason, I don't know why I remember Temple of Doom being like in like South America, but it does not take place in South America. It's in India.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so the movie starts out, and Indiana has already picked up this artifact that he's looking to exchange for specific like diamond that he's been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this kind of he's in Shanghai in the mid-30s, and he's kind of in in a standoff with this crime boss who's trying to, as Andy stated, is trying to double cross him, and he almost like gets what he wants, but come to find out they poisoned his drink that he guzzles down, and so to get the antidote, he kind of has to give back the diamond, and he kind of almost loses everything. And that's, hijinks ensue, and there's a battle that goes on in this like nightclub that they're in, and he kind of came in very 007-esque, if I must say.
In the tux and in the white jacket and all that. Yeah, it was very James Bond.
And so he finally, Indiana Jones, in his spectacular way, makes his escape out of the nightclub with the lounge singer that he was kind of hanging out with the crime boss, and this is where we meet his young sidekick Short Round that he met. And they make their escape on a plane that actually turns out to be owned by the crime boss, and so he knows the pilots, and it's pretty much like they end up dumping out all the fuel in the middle of nowhere, and then jumping out of the plane while all of them are sleeping, and so they crash land in India, and that's where kind of they come across this village of people who pretty much had their almost entire village like burned down, and all their children stolen, and like this artifact that this stone that is supposed to bring them good fortune and all sorts of good things, and that's where Indiana Jones goes to search out this stone and figure out what happened. And that's pretty much like the the synopsis of the movie. That's without giving away the whole plot of the movie or scene by scene. That's pretty much what the Temple of Doom is about.
Yeah. So because it's kind of a misdirect initially, because you think it's about like like in the opening scene where they do like the dirty deal, but then it goes off in this other adventure where they deal with like this cult and stealing the children from the village, and like there's the kids are being brainwashed. I think the leader, the prince of the Indian village, he gets kidnapped and he gets brainwashed into this cult, and and what was the deity, or who?
It was like Kali.
Yeah. It was like the cult of Kali, and like one of like the head priest, or like the lead acolyte, he would like rip people's hearts out from their chest, and
that's the practical effects from that scene were really awesome. They did a great job.
I forget, is Temple of Doom kind of like a prequel in that the events of Temple of Doom precede Raiders of the Lost Ark? That was always my understanding.
Because it starts off in Shanghai in 1935, and you might be right on that. Hold on, I'm gonna look that up because I think you might be right.
Right.
Because I was thinking the same thing, where like it kind of seemed like that might be the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even though it's funny, I just we just watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, but I can't remember if they ever indicate the year or whatever in Raiders.
Yeah, at the very beginning, like when it opens up, it's Shanghai 1935.
And Raiders takes place like a little bit later that decade, or maybe even like in the 40s, right?
I think it's like late 30s is when.
Okay, yeah.
The first one. Let me see. Yeah, you know what? I was. Yeah, so it came out in 1984. It's the second installment, and it's a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. You were correct.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense because if you're obviously after the first one, he meets back up with his with Marianne, and it's like all of a sudden he's in this one. It's like, where the hell did she go?
Yeah, where Marianne? Yeah. Where did Marianne go?
Yeah, if you weren't paying attention, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, 1935. That was before the events of the first movie. So it's kind of these adventures of Indiana Jones. It's not necessarily in order. It's just telling different stories of adventures that he's been on.
So yeah, it's all, in a way it's kind of an anthology, even though because it's kind of like telling stories out of order, but so if you were to think about it, Temple of Doom is actually the first one, and Raiders is actually the second one. But yeah, I will admit the Temple of Doom is not my favorite Indiana Jones movie.
I was almost gonna, since you brought it up, I actually was gonna like talk about this after we finished Last Crusade, but since you brought it up, I mean, don't get me wrong, Temple of Doom is fantastic. I really like it, and there's certain moments of the film that I really like, but like I still think that Raiders is probably my favorite out of the three.
Agreed.
I just there's just so many like great moments in that, and and there's a few. I know there's when we get to the Last Crusade, there's definitely some moments in there that are a lot of stuff is referenced from. There's a lot. The funny thing with Temple of Doom, a lot of the Indiana Jones ride and stuff like that. I think was it Universal?
No, Disney.
Disney. Okay, yeah. It's mainly based off Temple of Doom.
Yeah, I mean they have like the boulder, which is from the first one, but yeah, most like the whole concept of that ride, is the mining car scene in Temple of Doom.
Right. And but yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that that's referenced from all three movies, just because it's pretty iconic. But yeah, I've always really loved Raiders of the Lost Ark the most. I think it's the funniest of all of them. But I will I don't know, maybe like rewatching because I haven't seen Last Crusade. I think that's the one I've watched the least of the three. I think I've only seen it maybe twice. And it's so I'll be going back into Last Crusade kind of fresh because I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen it in forever. So I might change my mind after watching it.
Well, yeah, I think because I've seen both Raiders and Last Crusade equally, like equal a number of times. But yeah, with Last Crusade, you're definitely going back to like Raiders, Indiana.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's very much like that kind of like suspense and action adventure type feel, like the kind of like you got in Raiders. Not to say that Temple of Doom was horrible or anything, but it's just not my favorite.
Don't. It's kind of like comparing different types of apples. I mean, they're both apples.
Right,
it's just
it's like a Fuji compared to a Granny Smith or Washington apple. So
yeah, that's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah.
There's something else that I was trying to think of. Something that's I think is kind of interesting is thinking of Indiana Jones, and I think last time we talked, I was kind of bringing up how the new Uncharted games are kind of like what people who love Indiana Jones, like Indiana Jones and the Uncharted series are very like there's a lot of connection between them as far as like that action adventure, searching for treasure, and fame and glory. And in the case of Indiana Jones, of course, he wants that fame and glory. Yet at the same time, he also has a heart and also respects the history of what he's looking for. He's not trying to, exploit people or, the artifacts that he's trying to gain.
Right, yeah, he's very much in it for altruistic reasons.
Right, and same with the Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series, and I think a lot. But what we see is a lot of times that he's going off all these legends and things for looking at these treasures, and when you come to find the real story behind, they find that treasure, but they find out the real story, and those treasures aren't quite the same. What people think that they're supposed to be. We'll definitely see that in the case of The Last Crusade. I'm not going to give it away this week, but you're thinking people who are trying to exploit these for personal gain or whatever, they end up reaping the consequences of those decisions, and that treasure is not quite what they expected it to be. So I think that's kind of something that we see in the Indiana Jones series, where it's like, oh, well, that in Raiders, it's like, oh, the Ark, it's not something to be trifled with. It's very dangerous if you're not careful. And same thing with in The Last Crusade, that'll happen, and these stones that in Temple of Doom, there was something more sinister behind those stones. There's a reason why they were separated from one another.
Right.
So I just think that's kind of cool, where it's you kind of see where it's the story is more about the adventure. And when come to find out, it's these treasures and legends had much more danger behind them that most people don't realize, and I don't know. I just kind of like that, where sometimes the journey is much more important than the destination at times. Speaking, the other thing is, since we're kind of talking Indiana Jones, and to me, I can't think of was it like the Uncharted series without thinking of Indiana Jones. There was and for a long time, fans of that series, there's one actor that has been like, we got to have a live action with this guy, has to play the character of Nathan Drake, and that was Nathan Fillion.
Right.
Yeah, and
he voiced them, right? He voiced in the game.
Nope.
No.
I
thought he did.
Nolan, was it Nolan North was the guy that voiced. I believe it was Nolan North that voiced Nathan Drake, who did a fantastic job, by the way. But anyways, so there was talk of them, like, finally there was a movie that had been greenlit about Uncharted, but then they weren't they were gonna put Brad Pitt in that main role, and then it wasn't gonna even really. In the end, it wasn't really a good Uncharted movie at all, and it was just gonna be a bad idea. Finally, and it got canceled because there was a lot of backlash concerning it. But I guess finally, because it was a Comic-Con had been going on. There had been a bunch of nerd conventions the last couple months, and there was a fan that got Nathan Fillion to do a fan film as him as Nathan Drake, and it's only like 14 minutes, but damn, it felt so satisfying to see that come to fruition. And Nathan Fillion is perfect as Nathan Drake. He's kind of that, like, he has the look, and he has that quick wit and smart mouth that comes with Nathan Drake. I'll have to send you the link to that. It's really good.
So, I guess to wrap up our review, so Temple of Doom, out of 5, what do you give it?
Oh, that's a tough one. I gotta give it 3.
3?
Not because it's not a bad movie, but I don't think it lives up to the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay. All right, that's fair. I mean, yeah, I'd give it a 3 too.
Maybe I'll go up to 3.5 just because it is Indiana Jones.
All right. Well, I mean, from my perspective, it's just I mean, I don't think it was that fun of a story, and also certain casting decisions.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I kind of like the short round. That was cool. But one thing that I did laugh out loud about with this movie is we talked about that. My favorite scene in Raiders is where he ends up shooting that swordsman. Well, in this one, there's a moment where there's a bunch of swordsmen that come out and swinging swords around, and he goes to reach for his gun. There.
Yeah, there were 2 swordsmen this time, and then he was gonna pull his gun, but it's like, oh, I don't have my gun, so I can't do that thing that I did in the first movie.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I think it was paying homage to that. Yeah,
it was definitely a callback. It was like even though the events of Temple of Doom happened before Raiders, it's kind of a callback. So
yeah, so. I thought that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah. That was a good one.
That was probably my favorite scene in the movie. One of them.
All right. Well, yep, you heard it. Robert gives it a 3.5. I gave it a 3. Really quick, my casting problem was with Kate Capshaw.
You didn't like her?
Yeah, she was just so over the top, and everyone knows that Spielberg hired her just to get into her good bits.
That's probably true.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
But it did give us one of. But it's like, I mean, it's funny because now like Kate Capshaw's acting has become kind of like a meme where to the point where it's like referenced in like everything. Like even Family Guy did like a riff on it with the Stewie when they're like him and Brian were got lost or whatever, and like were hopping around the globe, and they're on a plane, and then Stewie does the reference to that scene in Temple of Doom where the pilots have just leapt out of the plane, and then they took all the parachutes, and then so Indiana brings out inflatable raft, and then Kate Capshaw's character is like, he's like, we're not sinking, we're crashing, in that kind of like hysterical woman way.
Yeah.
So,
That's true. She was definitely over the top.
yeah. So.
She wasn't the greatest female lead.
Right. Yeah. She was no. Who was the actress that played Marion Ravenwood? Something Allen.
Great question.
Kristen Allen.
That's a great question.
Was it Kristen Allen?
I think so. Hold on a second. Let me go back and let me find out because I don't remember her name. Let's see. Raiders. Karen Allen.
Karen Allen. There it is. Yeah, she was no Karen Allen. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, she was much better.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't. That's the other thing is like she wasn't like a useless character.
Yeah, like she was like she held her own. She was the counterpoint to Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, where
Exactly.
she was it was like she was like his mirror, but just kind of different. So, just a woman, and she used like she had the same kind of bravery and cunning as Indiana, but just in woman form.
Yep.
And so, yeah. So yeah, that's our review for Temple of Doom. 3 for me, 3.5 for Robert. Again, not the worst movie ever, just not my favorite Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, that agreed.
Yes.
And speaking of child enslavement and sacrifice, if we move on to our next topic.
Yes, we do. It's kind of hilarious how things kind of work out, and just like because I was just like as we were kind of going through the review for Temple of Doom, I was like when we were talking about like the cult and like the kidnapping of children and the brainwashing, I was like, oh my god, this is like this. This was meant to be because everything kind of like lined up perfectly, especially like again like the things that are happening this week. So
yeah, it's
So take it away, Robert.
So a couple weeks ago, it's been a few more I would say about a month ago, there was a TED Talk that was put out. God, I cannot remember this chick's name.
Miriam something or other?
Yeah, Mirjam something or other. I can't remember her name at the top of my head right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there was I think they were like in Germany or Austria or one of those like kind of like Midwestern European countries.
Yeah. Was it Warsaw?
Was it in Poland?
I don't know. I remember it started with a W. But anyways, continue.
Anyways, so pretty much, and I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of TED Talks. I think they're kind of, I have my.
Admittedly, I was initially because I thought initially there were some really interesting things being talked about or discussed, but
I think a lot of them are for pretentious assholes, but that's just me. That's
fine. I was a pretentious asshole. All right, jeez.
But this particular one, the topic was on why we should normalize pedophilia, which is a pretty horrific kind of sounding topic, and for me that's one road that I can't just let that go away and just like, oh, hey, it's okay, like, kind of, it's some people can't help it, or whatever kind of like crazy like liberal mindset that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just there about 15 or so years ago, a lot of I been hearing a lot of stuff about pedophilia and people doing stuff with kids, and there was obviously a lot of the stuff that was going on with the Catholic Church, and you have people with tinfoil hats like Corey Feldman saying there's all these people in Hollywood that are doing stuff to young kids, and even as like I got older and went through school, and I was working with like youth kids, and kind of the thought that like, oh, it seems like it's kind of like this crazy witch hunt that people are being accused of pedophilia or whatever, and it just didn't seem it didn't seem like it was gonna like that big of a problem. But now, like, the more that I look into this, and the more that more and more information is coming out, where it's like, it not only is it not just some crazy conspiracy theory, but it's more debased and disgusting than I ever realized, and we can't just let people hide this in a corner somewhere and just say like, and not pretend like it's okay or whatever. We can't let like this type of message is. I'm never for like censorship, but hey, say what you want, but I think this kind of crap needs to be exposed, and these like people that are buying into this kind of stuff, something needs to happen.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, if you guys were tuning in to see a spirited debate, me taking the opposing side and and defending it, you guys are dumb as rocks. All right, you guys are dumb as rocks. If you thought that we're gonna, if you came to see a spirited debate about, me taking, kind of like taking the devil's advocate positions, like, you guys are fucking morons.
This is not pancakes versus waffles. This is
I know, which I think that pancakes are the superior breakfast food item.
God!
But that's a debate for a different time. But yeah, it's truly amazing because they've already even before they put out this TED Talk, they were already trying to do it. Salon put out that article, defending pedophiles, and also they did like that video editorial, thing, kind of applauding this guy who said, yes, I'm attracted to minors or whatever, but I've never acted on it. And it's like, oh well, he's like, like they wanted to throw him a fucking parade.
Yeah, and then there's there's been a lot of this talk of now that they're coming out with these weird sex robots, it's like, oh, should we make them, some of them look like kids,
right? So they could
pedophiles.
Yeah, so they can indulge in their depravity. But we gotta ask yourself, to what point will that doll no longer satisfy?
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's a fair question. Like, at what? Okay, fine. Let's grant you the robot child sex dolls. But then, at what point will that no longer suffice, and they actually have to go out and I don't know, rape a child.
It's like, well, okay, we'll only allow him one kid, but one, just one, it's,
Right, then it becomes like the slippery slope. It's like, all right, we'll allow you one. It's like, well, it's like you had the one. It's like, well, we don't want to be mean, so okay, we'll give you one more.
Right.
And then where does it stop? Where does it stop? I mean, as a society, we have to agree upon certain standards, and one of those standards should be the protection of children. No matter what.
Yeah.
And like and even like the drag queen kids. And I'm not knocking grown men who want to grown men who want to put on makeup and dress like women. I'm not knocking that, but I am against the sexualization of children. And that's what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what makeup is for. It's to mimic physiological signifiers within human females of sexual arousal.
Yeah, that's why, like, the other thing, like those, what is it? You remember the whole, like, Jean-Benet Ramsey, and like she was doing those like pageants.
Yeah.
Like, I think like those like kid pageants and stuff, those are kind of creepy too.
Yeah. I remember when TLC did that show, Toddlers and Tiaras. Yeah, I kind of. It gave me kind of an icky feeling. I watched a couple of episodes, but I was like, man, this kind of makes me feel. This doesn't feel right.
No, I saw like 2 seconds of that. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, this is disgusting.
Right? Yeah. It's just it did it. Yeah, I didn't feel right. It's just like something. I recognized it even back then. It's like something is wrong. This isn't right. Like
like you said, it's that sexualization of kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. And so and it's funny because like how quickly TED Talks took it off their YouTube channel, like that.
Yeah.
You go and find it in like from other people who have archived it and who have mirrored it, like maybe like offsite or maybe or they have to do like the what is it the fair use thing and have to provide commentary to make it transformative and not just like
right.
a re-upload.
We probably both had the FBI looking at us after like we did like an extensive search for this damn thing.
Yeah.
Trying to find out what was actually said and like what the whole message was, which I can never get that 15 minutes of horror back.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the scary thing is like not only were there people in the audience, and maybe like okay, maybe going in it's like, oh, there's gonna be a TED Talk, cool, and like they go in, they don't really know what the topic's gonna be, so I'll give them like, okay, granted there's probably gonna be an audience, but then after hearing for like 2 minutes what this legitimate crazy person is saying, why there's anybody left in the audience at the end of that damn video is beyond me.
And they applauded.
Yeah. Unless it was just a audience full of pedophiles. It's like, thank God somebody's standing up for us.
I mean, and here's the funny thing, because like I wasn't trying to burn anything into my brain watching that thing. But it was funny because the presenter, she pulled out, she offered some statistics, and she said that what is it that uh, of the population of pedophiles, only 20% molest or abuse children.
Wow. Yeah, I
20%.
remember that too.
20%. That is a remarkable number, because if you guys don't remember, back in maybe five years ago, people were going crazy about the supposed rape culture or rapes happening on college campuses, and they were offering up that completely bogus statistic of 1 in 5 women on college campuses are being raped. And if you take that, the 1 in 5, that's 20%. That's 20%, and they're saying, back then they were saying that that's unacceptable. That 20% of women or of people being raped on college campuses is unacceptable. But then you have this TED Talk where this woman puts out that only 20% of the pedophile population are harming children, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's not so bad." It's like, what?
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me? How is it okay? How is it not okay that people are getting raped on college campuses? 20% of people on college campuses are being raped, but then that's not okay. But then you have 20% of a population are the ones doing harm, but that's fine because it's not. Oh, it's not 30%. It's like, well, then at what percentage would it not be okay for children to be abused?
It's fucking horrific.
I know.
I think it comes from I don't know if it's a hatred for children or what's going on in our society nowadays, but it's let's come up with these fake stats on rape culture on college campuses that doesn't exist.
And the actual statistic is like 1 in 50.
Yeah, which is still horrific.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying that. Let's not get it twisted. I'm not saying that rape is okay. If it's a small number.
Ooh,
I'm saying that even one rape is too much. Okay, let's get that straight. I'm saying that even one rape is too much. But it's not. But let's be honest. All right, the rape rate is not 20%. That's all I'm saying.
And we're talking actual rape, not some fake definition of
rape.
Rape,
yeah, which
strange rape.
Yeah,
that's not rape.
Which they even admitted to expanding the definition. When they did calls or whatever. It's like, oh well, it's like, have you ever felt have you ever felt uncomfortable around a person? It's like yes, okay, that's rape. Or were you ever touched inappropriately, regardless of context? Maybe you were in a crowded hallway and a guy was walking by and his hand accidentally grazed your butt. But it's like, yeah, but again, take it out of context. It's like, okay, have you ever been touched inappropriately? Well, technically that would be a yes. So it's like, all right, that's rape. And it's like,
yeah,
what? So their methodology is flawed because they're looking for an outcome before they even get the data.
Yeah, and that's like I said. But the fact that there's even that 1 in 50 is still bad. But the fact that you look at where even by their the crazy logic that this probably fake statistics that this person put out on this talk was even with those numbers. Oh, only 20% of these people are really acting upon their on their desires,
urges or whatever.
That's horrible.
That's what I'm saying.
That's horrible.
I know. How is it that how is it that we abide 20% of a group who are abusing children, but we don't allow. Does not, error does not compute.
And yeah, there's just I was pretty horrified watching that TED Talk, and
yeah, me
you
too.
know what? In one sense, I'm glad they took it down, but
I'm not.
in the other sense, it's like I think that it should be exposed, and that people that are advocating for this, this kind of thing, like, they should be drug out in the middle of the street and shot.
Yeah, I mean, because because then people might argue, it's like, oh, well, this isn't like some mainstream thing. It's like, it's TED Talk. It's as mainstream as it gets.
Yeah, exactly.
This wasn't on this wasn't hosted by NAMBLA or whatever, or some like fringe group. Yeah. This was right. TED Talk.
That's why I couldn't believe that when I first heard that. I was like, when I heard about this, I was like, wait, a TED Talk? What, they were advocating for this? Who allowed it? First of all, who allowed this person to, come on? Did they not know what she was going to end up talking about, and they were horrified when they found out, or is it just like, yeah, come on, let's, we'll have an open conversation?
Well, I mean, I heard that even after a day of it being up on their page, it was getting terrible ratios, massive downvotes, as it rightfully should have been.
Yeah, that's somewhat encouraging that there's still a semblance of sanity out there.
All right, because I mean, yeah, I watched that talk, and all I could think about is all of my nieces and nephews, and all of my my friends' kids, who are still little children. I'm just it's so you're saying that within the pedophile group, 20% wants to abuse my nieces and nephews, and my friends' kids. I was like, no, that's when we start taking access to nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's horrific, man. It's these people rip the innocence away from children far too early, and the scary thing is that this is one of those weird things that it's almost like a disease that gets passed on.
Yeah.
Where the people that were abused, they either end up getting caught up in and this isn't 100%, but there's a lot of studies there, or stats that show a lot of them end up either getting involved with drugs, become severely depressed, kill themselves, or even worse, they become a serial predator for kids themselves.
Yeah. It's what is it? It's what's that movie where or I don't know. It's kind of an old trope where within science fiction or fantasy, where this malevolent spirit gets passed between people. Oh wait, what was that Denzel movie? Denzel's a cop, and he puts away this murder, but then the murder touches someone just before he's executed, and then this malevolent spirit goes into that person, and like kind of like toys around with Denzel. But yeah, it's kind of the whole that what you were talking about, just the cycle of of making victims. Um, yeah, that's kind of like what it is. Because you just like keep passing on like that, that malevolent spirit, and it just constantly keeps duplicating and replicating itself over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it's, you look at someone who like Corey Feldman, who everyone's like being called and don't get me wrong, he is a legitimate crazy person, but I think he was probably driven crazy because of a lot of the abuse that he and Corey Haim took, and he shares that he believes that Corey Haim got involved with drugs and ended up killing himself because of all the abuse that he went under as a kid.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that I truly believe. Yeah. Corey. It was Haim. Yeah, it was Corey Haim. He was completely damaged, and he was completely ruined. He was completely ruined as a human being because of the abuse that he suffered.
Yeah, but then you look at Elijah Wood has come out and he's talked about this stuff. Who else came out about this? There was some other like pretty other fairly big name actors that like had come out with this stuff. I remember too there was a former hockey player, pretty high up there. I think it was. And I could be getting this wrong, but I think it was Theoren Fleury, who was a fairly high up there hockey player, and he said that he ended up going through a lot of issues because like he had a coach that ended up molesting him as a kid, and then you obviously have the whole stuff that was going on with like Jerry Sandusky with Penn State, and who knows like how much of that was like covered up or who knew what, and then this is all the stuff that Tommy Robinson has been fighting over in England with all those Islamic grooming gangs that are trying to fuck kids over there, and he's probably going to die in prison because of he's, God forbid, trying to protect kids.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. 'Cause Tommy Robinson, he was like calling it out forever. He was like, because he just kept seeing like all of like the unchecked migration, and he was just calling it out as like he called it. He was calling it like he saw it. Everyone was like, kept telling him, oh, keep your mouth shut, but he's like. He's one of the good guys. He was calling out evil.
Yeah. And the other, what was it, who was that guy that was connected to the Hillary campaign that ended up getting caught with a bunch of child pornography? Do you remember?
Oh, was it Wiener?
Yeah, I think that was him.
Yeah, well, I mean, Wiener was the husband to Huma Abedin, who was, Hillary's right hand.
Right. There was that, and then, Jared Fogle that ended up getting caught with child pornography.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There was, what was it? There's a really funny comedy bit by a guy named Joe DeRosa, and he had this whole bit about how like celebrities have like a giant ego, and how so many of them can just, depending on like how like famous you are, you can kind of pretty much get away with anything, and it's like but then you have like these fake celebrities like Jared Fogle, and we showed him real fucking quick what we thought of his celebrity status. He was definitely no Michael Jackson, and I guess there was lots come out about what Michael Jackson was actually like really into and stuff, and
I mean, it's funny because people completely gloss over the fact that they found like that treasure trove at Neverland, where he had like photographs of like Macaulay Culkin, and I mean they didn't go into too much detail, but it was a secret room, and it was filled with like I mean at the very least it's been reported on that there were photographs of Macaulay Culkin, so it's not much of a stretch to imagine that there might have been, or there probably was kitty porn in that room.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and they were saying that there was there was stuff that had to do with like S&M with kids and stuff. It's like that's really horrific. The other and my guess is that I bet you that Michael Jackson was probably abused sexually when he was a kid with the Jackson 5. I guarantee it.
Oh, absolutely.
By who? Who knows? But it probably happened.
Well, I mean, if he was being physically abused by his father, then I don't know. It's I mean, I don't see much of a stretch for it to come out that that it was his father that sexually abused him too.
I wasn't going there, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't be surprised, but also because he was in like that the big Hollywood, kind of like Hollywood music industry machine at a very young age, and and people and the whole thing about like Corey Feldman coming out and saying I was abused and so was Corey Haim, and then Elijah Wood coming out and saying like did he say that he was abused too, or because he's always asserted that his mother protected him really well against that.
He was saying, I don't know if he was necessarily, I don't remember if he said he was abused himself, but he's very aware of the fact that there's a huge problem in Hollywood, like stuff that's going on with kids. Because I think he was like talking about how he was approached, oh, if you don't do this, then you're not gonna get like certain parts or whatever. He's like, right. But I'm
because I think a lot of it they disguise it as like business meetings, or like kind of where like the agent would go would take the kids essentially away from the parents and say, oh, we have to go to this event, it'll be really good for some exposure and yada yada, some sort of like festival or whatever, and then like so it'd be an unaccompanied minor essentially, and then the agent or whatever would then like they would freaking eyes wide shut with the kids.
Yeah, really. Oh gosh. So, well, and speaking of the Hollywood machine that is this kind of that is a real rape culture. That's where the real rape.
Yeah, it's funny because they're saying like, oh, America's a rape culture. It's like, no, just Hollywood.
But the fact that like and it's starting to come out more with how a lot of these big Hollywood stars, like they create these jokes where it's like kind of joking about pedophilia and all this stuff. Obviously this is what got James Gunn in trouble.
The recent and it's funny because certain things happened this past week. Just to go back, with the Roseanne thing and how she got fired for her tweets, which what happened on her own time, and she apologized for, but yet still was fired. And James Gunn was one of those guys who was like kind of like reveling in it and gloating about the fact that Roseanne got fired for um, what is it? Abhorrent. I think to quote him, he said abhorrent comments.
Which to be honest, it's true. It wasn't. It definitely was not one of her shining moments. And
I still thought it was funny as hell though.
There's a difference. Hers was actually funny.
Yeah. Well, so James Gunn was one of the people that was like reveling in it, and then just a few weeks back, Ben Shapiro talked with Mark Duplass. I don't really. I've seen him in a few things, but I can't like pin it down like where exactly. But I guess like they had like a meeting or an exchange, and then Mark Duplass puts out a tweet saying, "Hey, Ben Shapiro's a really is a really thoughtful and measured person. People on the left, you should if you want someone decent to follow, follow Ben Shapiro." And then and then everyone on the left like just descended on Mark Duplass and pulled out all of these quotes, these tweets that Ben put out, and took them completely out of context, and it's like, oh, how dare you, humanize this Jewish Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that, I mean, that's not what they were literally saying, but that's kind of the sentiment. It's like, oh, how dare you, again, humanizes Jewish Nazi. He's nothing. He's about hate speech, and he's about taking, away, rights for, gays and transgenders and blah blah blah. And they pretty much hammered Mark Duplass into denouncing Ben Shapiro on Twitter. And he actually did, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to promote I didn't mean to promote hate or whatever." Which basically throwing Ben under the bus.
Yeah, it's there was that going on, and what was the I didn't what was the exact tweet that because I know it was like one for that he had put out a while ago on Twitter, and it was like something to the I forgot what the his specific tweet was. Do you remember?
Well, I mean, I don't know about recently, but what got him in
that he got in trouble for?
Well, again, I don't. There were a bunch because Mike Cernovich went deep dive onto James Gunn's Twitter feed and pulled out like a lot within like the last like 10 years or so.
Oh, so
it was like a wall of tweets. Talking about like, oh, I just saw Expendables, and like, man, like it makes me wanna fuck this pussy boy sitting next to me.
What?
Yeah, and then like another one was like, oh, I'm doing this photo shoot with, and I think like he names a bunch of kids, and it's like, oh, I'm trying to keep half chub so I look good in the photo.
Ew.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the crazy thing, because there's been a lot of celebrities that they joke about pedophilia. You had like Sarah Silverman. One of her like more famous ones that she put out was is it something to the effect, is it like molestation or something if the kid comes on to me, or things of those nature. It's like, and well, it's I don't know. I don't find it very funny just because that's one of those like topics where it's like it's kind of but that's one thing where I'm like, all right, let's that's not it's just not funny. But then they're under the guise of we're just joking around. It's like essentially they're saying it's like, well, wouldn't it be funny if like this kid touched my dick right now? Like it's like where it's just really like uncomfortable, like kind of really bad taste, bad taste of a joke.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm completely enjoying this. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm completely enjoying this. Everything that's happening to James Gunn right now, I am completely 100% enjoying it. Especially because the irony of him, like, castigating Roseanne, for her her abhorrent comments, and then all of a sudden, it's like, and that's the precedent. That's the precedent that they set. It's like, oh, if you had said anything, if you at any time had said anything that was mildly offensive or even God, what's the word I'm looking for? Or somewhat, ambiguous, then you have to be fired. Because that's the standard. That is now the standard that they have set, and it's stupid because they didn't think that that standard could be then applied to them.
True. Well, you're very Schadenfreude right now.
Yes, exactly. I love Schadenfreude. It's the best. It's the best.
I see it more as it's kind of like they're now reaping the consequences of their own actions. Where it's thinking like, well, we're always in the right. Our ideas are right. What we say is right all the time. And then they say something that is 1,000 times more offensive, and now someone is finally calling them to account for those things. Like, and all right, if you're saying that like this person can't say this and they should be like their life destroyed, well, the same has to apply to you now. Which to me, like in obviously in this case, like with the pedophilia stuff, like, hey, you know what, absolutely. But even if it's something that's like where now it's we're no longer just like, oh, you know what, yeah, it's a little controversial, maybe it's not so not so nice, or could offend somebody, but it's funny, and like within context it's actually kind of funny.
Well,
then it's like, but the it's, or like, oh, he said this person said something that it hurts my feelings, even though it's like it's just a fact of life or something. And well, they should be fired because it's all these things, and they end up.
Well, I mean, because here's the thing, because I mean, Owen Benjamin pointed this out, and he found the most out of like all the tweets. He found the most joke-like tweet, and it went like, oh, the best part of being raped is that is after being raped, it's like, oh wow, that was great. Like not being raped. It was like, after being finished, after being raped, it's like that feeling was like, oh wow, that feels really great not to be raped. And that, and that's, and
yeah.
And he was saying like, that's, that, and that was like the most joke like tweet, that,
Right.
because it wasn't mentioning anyone specific or a specific group. It was just talking about more about the experience.
Right.
But then you have like this pattern where it's all about like pedophilia and like kid fucking or whatever. And like he even has like one where he talks about like masturbating to Justin Bieber. And at that time, at that time when he made that tweet, he was like a 40-year-old man, and Bieber was 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's not funny, but it's interesting to note that everyone, all the people who, or at least all the celebrities that do like these pedophilia jokes are unmarried or don't have kids.
True.
I mean that's just pattern recognition. It's like, yeah, everyone, like all the everyone that does like these pedophile jokes are either not married or don't have children. Because I mean, Owen Benjamin had a really funny pedophile joke. He's like he goes into a Walgreens and asks the clerk, like, "Oh, where are your pedophiles?" And like the clerk is like, "What? What are you talking about?" It's like, "Yeah, I just saw like in your mailer that you have a sale for a pedophile, for like so you could file down your toes, pedophile."
See, that's funny.
Right? Yeah. Because it's an expectation of subversion. And the way he explained it, like the joke is that the audience knows something that I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a joke that works. Or that's a pedophile joke that works.
Yeah. See, that I can laugh to because that's just clever wordplay.
Yeah, exactly. And we're all about clever wordplay on this podcast.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, it's very concerning where there's just such a I don't know if it's necessarily like a cabal, but like it's where it's not just like one guy at the top. It's like everyone seems to be. There's a lot of people that are connected to this really horrific act in some form or another. Maybe in the end, James Gunn and like these people are just joking. But even this, like you had like Peter Fonda that came out with that tweet about. Oh man, it wouldn't be really like I wish Barry Trump would get like fucked by these pedophiles in these in the jails at the borders. Like, so you're saying that like these, so you obviously see that there's a huge problem of people, some of these guys that are coming across the border that are fucking kids, and you want the president's son to be a
held down, by
people. It just, I like some of Peter Fonda's movies, but man, his politics and some of the things that come out of his mouth are just, it's pure garbage.
Yeah, but again, it goes back to like people on the left, they never think that the standard could ever be applied to them, and it's like. I've come up with this saying. It's like, don't think that the knife you sharpen for your enemy can't find its way into you.
Right.
And so like the left set the standard. Like, if you said anything objectionable or offensive in the past, then it could be totally used against you in the present to destroy you. Well, you know what? We're fine. If them's the rules, then that's how we're gonna play.
Yeah, because I found it kind of interesting. There's a along that topic, and I don't know this particular person's political leanings or anything like. Nor do I really care. Mm-hmm. But there's a picture on the Milwaukee Brewers that I don't know who it was that dug it up or and there was literally zero context given as to why he made this tweet.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a I think he's a fairly young guy. He's probably like 20, somewhere in his mid-20s at most. And they dug up a tweet from like when he was like 16 or 17, and they never showed the actual tweet. So that's why I'm kind of like, it seems a little. I'm just saying it seems a little not fabricated, but it's probably like it seems a little sketchy when you say, okay, you can't even like quote the actual tweet of what he said. And it was all the it was racist, it was homophobic, all the typical lines that are thrown out. And it's like, and for me it's like, okay, and it came out during the All-Star game is when this all came to light, and it's like, okay. And he came out and it's like, hey, it was something that I said when I was, 17 years old. I'm not 17 anymore. I'm not a dummy. I don't, think or, say things like that anymore or whatever. So it's like, but, now he has to, there's potential, I think the team fined him. I don't know if the league fined him. And then he has to go through all this sensitivity training, and I think they may have suspended him for a game or two. I don't remember if they did or not.
So basically a big waste of time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. And for me, like, if he did say like those things, it's like, okay, hey, if it's like a really hateful thing that he said or whatever, okay, fine. It's maybe he does deserve all those things. But something I think that like the fact that like they wouldn't even really like show what he said, or there's no, like I said, zero context is given.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of a problem. And it's like, there's no show like, oh, it was, is it a pattern? Does he always say like these type of things? Is it or was it just, kind of like a one-off, that was maybe, a ill-timed, joke that's not funny kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because it was dug up from like way in his past. And then a few weeks later, this thing with James Gunn, like they're digging into his past. I don't know if it's kind of there's someone that's, I mean, it's on the internet, so it's never, you can delete tweets, but they're never really gone.
Yeah, someone's always going to archive and save it or whatever.
Right. And so I don't know if like people are digging up tweets and just trying to. Both the the mob is just going after whether you're on the right or the left, and just trying to destroy the fabric of society. Well, this person's successful, so fuck him, and I'm gonna. Or I think in the case of something like James Gunn, or it's. From what you're saying is like it's not something that's it seems like a series of pretty questionable tweets, and it's not just like, oh, he was saying it to a friend and then somebody tweeted something out about him. It's like you're shouting this not at 10 people, you're saying it to millions of people who follow you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're a fairly
right,
prominent,
you're shouting, you're not whispering to someone's ear when you put it on Twitter. You're shouting it at like potentially millions of people. I mean, depending on who you are, millions of people who you have some kind of influence over.
Right. And so
but I guess two things because like the whole hater thing. Like, I understand, like, if it was, like, a dumb kid thing to say. I'm a little bit more understanding on that front. But, like, with James Gunn, like, he was writing, like, those pedo tweets when he was a grown ass man. He was like 40 something. Like the whole like the Bieber thing. That was like when he was like 40. Yeah, I mean, like you're pretty. Yeah, you're not wet. You know, at that stage, you're not wet cement. You're like you're hardened. You're cured. You're solid. That's who you are.
Yeah.
And then also on the thing about context, yeah, you know, because you know it's happening to everybody. It's happening to Ben Shapiro. I mean, it's kind of happening to James Gunn, but more because there was like a few tweets that that reference like a link, but the link is no longer available or doesn't work or whatever. So in that case, in that way, he's being taken out of context. But I mean, but again, we have you know, something in the news. The John Schrader, the founder of Papa John's Pizza. You know,
Oh yeah.
you know, he was recently taken out of context. You know, because he was in like some sort of meeting for like quality control or whatever, and then he had referenced that Colonel Sanders had called black people niggers, and like he didn't get in the slightest bit of trouble. But then
Right.
but then he was then taken out of context, and you know the story was like, oh, you know, John Schrader calls black people niggers, when that wasn't even the case.
Right.
And then like you know, and then he had to step, you know, he had the initial controversy with like you know the whole NFL kneeling thing, and he stepped down as CEO of the company, but I think he was still like chairman of the board. But then like after that happened, like you know he stepped down, which I don't think he should have. He should have been like, hey, that you know that was taken out of context. That's not you know. That's not who I am as a person, and you guys know this already. So let's get back to making pizzas.
Like,
and that's all I have. That's all I have to say.
You know, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, first of all, he didn't say that like, oh, these are my views.
Right.
He was speaking out against the, you know, it's like, you know, it sucks because, or he was saying it's like, man, people that used to get away with you know some really crazy stuff, and it's like not that he was saying that you know it's like all I did was just say like he didn't agree with you know the kneeling stuff where it's like you know Colonel Sanders gets away with you know calling you know black people you know whatever you know horrible slander in the book, and nothing happened to him. He didn't lose his company. And you know that's kind of the that's what he was kind of I assume is what he was getting at, and yeah, now he like pretty much has everything taken away from him, which is crazy.
Yeah, but but again,
just because he quoted Colonel Sanders, you know,
or again, an alleged quote of Colonel Sanders. Just to be fair, but yes, yeah, but again, that's the world we live in now, and
yeah,
it's terrible. I mean, I'm not saying like you know we're in a better place. I think you know, I think a world where we can speak our minds and not be deemed you know Nazis or you know or white supremacists or you know horrible people. That'd be more ideal, you know, than anything else. Just in my humble opinion.
you're a white supremacist, Andy.
Yes, I'm an Asian white supremacist. Because that makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely.
Yes, right. Because I'm self-hating. That's what it is. Because I'm self-hating.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've definitely lost something, you know, in our culture where you know you could completely disagree with somebody on practically everything, but still know that they're a good person.
Right.
You know, and it was funny because I was just watching a Crowder video, and he had just and then they something to do about because there was like that new show that's coming out, like this girl who was a fatty, and then like she had to get her jaw wired shut, and then so she couldn't eat, and so she lost all this weight, and then it's essentially a revenge tale, like a dark comedy revenge tale where the fat girl takes the former fat girl goes and takes revenge on all of her all of her tormentors, and then it's like, oh, that's offensive. So you're saying that people have to lose weight to be successful? And it's like, no, it's just a dumb show. But in general, if you want to live longer, then yes, lose some weight.
Yeah, I just saw that video myself before we got on to do the stream.
Right, but he brought out, he put up the dictionary definition of tolerance, and it basically, and it's funny because my pastor talked about this like a long time ago, before like any of this craziness happened. But his definition pretty much lined up, kind of was like in the same spirit as the dictionary definition was. It's like tolerance used to mean allowing someone to be wrong, but now it means everyone is right.
Yep.
Yeah. But, that's what that's what my pastor said. But then like the dictionary definition is more about the first part. It's like allowing someone to be wrong. That's what tolerance used to mean. Allowing allowing someone to be wrong.
Yeah.
But but that's but now we have like this corrupted form of tolerance where it's like the other half of my pastor's quote, where it's like, now it means everyone is right. So like if you're fat, you're right. If you're skinny, you're right. If you're which completely tears down standards and any kind of sense of unity within a culture.
Yeah, it's it's funny. I was thinking about this the last few days, and I think we live in it's kind of like a tale of two cities. It's the best of times and it's the worst of times at the same time.
True.
Where we have all this really awesome technology and things that make life, I think, makes life a little bit easier, but I think a lot of fun too at the same time. The fact that we can access information to learn more about things that a couple of generations ago people didn't have access or easy access to that information.
Mm-hmm.
We can connect with we're not in the same room in the same house.
That's true.
So, and not only are we not in the same room talking to each other, but the people that are watching us, they're nowhere near. It's not like we have an audience in the living room somewhere. Like we're talking to people, from all over the place that are listening to us. That's
right.
That's a cool part of, we can, I can travel from here to San Francisco in a matter of a few hours, as opposed to like a month. It's.
But the way San Francisco is now, I don't imagine anyone wanting to go there anyways.
That's also the worst of times, where it's like, well, it's, you get like this crazy outrage mob that goes on, and people are trying to destroy fun and to destroy liberty, and it's like, hey, you know what? All these shitty policies that have been fucking everything up for years. Well, let's just double down. We'll just keep at them because we're doing the right thing. It's just maybe we're not going at it. Maybe we're not going at it hard enough.
Yeah,
And
the constant refrain, I think, or at least like a few years ago, used to be like, "Oh, we're on the right side of history." That was the constant refrain.
I
like
hate
from
that is.
say, I'm taking away your freedoms, but I'm on the right side of history. It's like when has the suppression or removal of rights ever been seen as the right thing to do? I mean, we fought wars. I mean, this country literally fought a war to have its rights.
Twice.
Twice, yeah, twice.
Yeah.
Twice, this country literally has fought 2 wars to keep its rights.
And we had another war to destroy tyranny in other lands. It's
that's true. And and then we had a war to fight fascism and tyranny. But now that's what some people now are courting. And they're completely oblivious. They're completely oblivious to the fact that they are like Antifa. They're anti-fascist, yet they employ fascistic tactics to silence their enemies.
Hey, we'll just smash you on the back of the head with bricks and
bike blocks and yeah. I mean, how do they not see? I forget who it was. It might have been Gavin McInnes, but the Antifa are the new brown shirts.
Yep.
They're the new brown shirts, and it's funny because I'm waiting. Again, it's that Schadenfreude, where I'm waiting for the Night of Long Knives with them. I mean, I don't want them. Yeah. I don't want them to be murdered or anything, but the metaphorical long knives. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, crack open a textbook.
Yeah. Read a book.
Yeah, read a book. A book, any book. No, but yeah. Those of you who don't know, the brown shirts were a bunch of street level thugs who supported Hitler and the Nazi Party. And they were again, they were the ground troops. They went and started commotions in neighborhoods and
what, you didn't vote for Hitler?
Yeah, you didn't vote for Hitler. Beer bottle to the head, or why aren't you flying the Nazi Party flag? Park bench through your store window. Kind of sounds familiar, right? And then the Night of Long Knives is when what was it? When Hitler when he was voted chancellor?
Yeah, when he took over, he ended up destroying all of the brown shirts that had helped him get elected. Mm-hmm. And he created the Gestapo and the SS to kind of take over and kind of cement his regime as dictator. Right.
Yeah. So and he freaking Michael Corleoned it, and he killed all the brown shirts. Had him murdered in their beds, because he knew that because he knew after we had won the war, I can't have warriors anymore. I can't have pit bulls anymore. So I have to kill the pit bulls.
Yep.
Which were the brown shirts, and I mean, and that's why I'm saying I'm waiting for the Night of Long Knives with Antifa, because it's gonna happen as soon as the left feels some sort of power again, or attains some sort of power again. It's gonna come. That they're gonna cut Antifa loose.
Second.
What was that?
Yep. They'll cut those people in a second.
Yeah, they'll cut them loose. They was like, oh, I was never an Antifa supporter. I mean, the best would be if it was Cory Booker.
God.
Mr. I don't believe in borders in Spanish on my T-shirt. Cory Booker.
Cory Booker, I have a fake gang member as a friend.
Yeah.
That doesn't. I guarantee that person does not exist.
Of course not. Of course not.
T-Bone or whatever the fuck his name his name was. Bullshit.
It would be T-Bone.
Yeah.
Oh.
That guy is such a liar. It's not even funny.
Yeah. So.
Just crocodile tears.
Yeah. So again, I'm waiting for the night of long knives.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna happen. Whether it's because they attain some sort of power again, or they just or they just become like political plutonium, just too hot to handle, and like the left has to cut them loose.
Yeah, because probably what would happen is if someone had Hillary been elected, those people that would have because these are the same people that voted for her, Bernie or whoever the fuck on the left was, and then as soon as they got elected and had any sort of power, all those people would have been in jail.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
because it would destroy their political legacy to have these people connected to them. But as of right now, they have no power. So
let them run rampant.
And they protect them.
Yeah.
They either fund or protect these people.
Exactly.
It's just funny that the irony of what's going on, and people who obviously don't know anything about history at all. It's like this has happened before.
Yeah. All this has happened and will happen again.
Yeah.
But but they don't see that they are the useful idiots. It's funny because they're taught this, they're taught this, about Marxism, about socialism, and useful idiots. But they don't see that they're the useful idiots.
Yep. And we have to enact this, this horrible, ideology that has killed hundreds of millions of people. Well, we need to try it again because it wasn't really done.
Yeah, because we'll get it right for sure this time. Because all those Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia. Yeah, they just weren't doing it right, But we in America will perfect the formula for sure.
Well, I mean, you look at it's pretty much as close to socialist paradises like Detroit and now San Francisco and all these places where it's we're turning certain parts of our country into shitholes.
Literal shitholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because the new mayor was doing a walking tour of San Francisco, and then
my god, there's so much shit.
No, I mean they probably did a little cleanup, but there was this one bum who was they were doing a tracking shot of the mayor as she was walking down, and then
he was shooting up.
Yeah, he was preparing a needle to shoot up in mere feet of the mayor. In mere feet of the mayor.
And the other thing, what's the other crazy thing is, who is gonna stop that guy from going apeshit and in his heroin-addled mind and trying to stab someone with that needle?
Right. Oh no, they have a solution because they're gonna open up what is it? Safe spaces so people can safely shoot up.
Oh god. Yeah, oh my god.
Yeah, it's because they're doing it in Canada. I forget which province, but I think was it Vancouver, Toronto?
Yeah, I think it's Vancouver because I know they have there's a huge problem with bums in Vancouver.
Yeah, Yeah, so apparently Vancouver instituted like these safe spaces, so homeless people can go and like with their own drugs. I mean, the center won't provide the drugs because that'd be unheard of, but they will provide you. Though they will provide the needles, the clean needles. So there's no needles.
I will not be shocked when it's like they'll eventually push. Well, you know what? Maybe we're the ones that we need to provide the drugs for them so that they can safely shoot up.
I know it's funny.
It's gonna get to that.
It's funny because it sounds absurd, but that's the next step. That's the next step. Like if they're not providing the space for them to shoot up, then they're gonna then provide the needles. Oh, well they're providing the needles. It's like, oh well, it's not like we're providing them with the drugs. Wait for it.
Yeah, and unless anything changes, which it won't, that's gonna be the next thing that comes down the pipeline.
Oh no doubt, without a doubt. Without a doubt, it's like, oh well, the homeless, they might get tainted drugs, so we should give them, we should be handing out the drugs to them. God, Jesus, take me now. I'm ready. Take me now.
Like I said, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times, and I look at a place like San Francisco, which should be a very beautiful place to be, but people have
yeah, I mean, I remember going as a kid in junior high. Every year my school did a trip to San Francisco and to Monterey Bay, and yeah, it was so great. It was so beautiful, and the people were always so nice. But now like now I see reports about San Francisco, and it's like they did like I think was it NBC or some news organization. They did like a 150 block tour around San Francisco, and they found like 300 piles of shit, like some like astronomical number of like used needles just on the floor.
Yeah, like just in reach of kids and just people that could accidentally step on them and get who knows what disease.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a public health problem at that point.
Well, and we're gonna get to the point where this stuff, we're gonna get these like 19th century diseases because there's all this feces and
like dysentery
what have you, where we might get the plague again. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's the scary thing is, these are all real possibilities now because
and they're planning on giving illegals the right to vote. They of course they preface it by saying that it's only for school board stuff. But just wait.
Yeah.
Let's see how long that lasts.
That's gonna last about 10 seconds. I mean, they already have the vote to be able to do this. We might as well just it's just a local election.
Yeah, local for mayor and things like that.
Yeah.
Or city council. It's like, you know what? Why don't we let them vote in Congress and congressmen and senators.
Not the president, but we can do this.
Of course, it's like, you know what? Why don't we just let them vote for governor as well? Yeah.
And we'll have some.
It's so stupid because their rationale is like, these people benefit from the school system, which they are not even entitled to. Their kids aren't even entitled to. Then so why shouldn't they have a say in how schools are run? Because their kids are in our schools, and it's like, well, if your kids weren't born here, then if the kids were born here, maybe I understand like they could use it, but they what's that old saying? It's like, if you don't pay for the pizza, you don't get to pick the toppings.
Yeah. Beggars cannot be choosers.
Right?
Should we end on a happy note, Andy? Because I
know.
don't wanna,
It became it got kind of like kind of a downer.
I don't want us to feel all depressed heading to bed tonight. And I'm certainly the people listening. We should give them something to laugh about or to hope on.
Huh. Something funny. Something funny.
Maybe we should have ended with Temple of Doom.
I know. Maybe we should have ended with Temple of Doom.
Doom. Kalima.
Kalima. Oh man. Yeah, I'm coming up with goose eggs.
Yeah. I don't think the world's gonna end before next week.
That's very optimistic of you.
Yeah. Well, okay. I will say this. Something that I mean, it's no. We don't really keep it a secret. Obviously, we're both believers. We're Christians, and I look at the world nowadays, and I think, if I didn't have some sort of the belief system that I have, looking at the world how it is, and some of the horrible things that I see, I could be very. It's like, wow, there's just no hope, and it'd be very easy to be depressed and think that this is just all for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I look at, like, because of the belief system I have, I can take okay, what's the big picture? Is this obviously, like, the world is not the best place to be. There's sin kind of abounds for within the world, and but at the same time, it's like, well, you know what? Like, I still have, like, a lot of joy because God's in my life, and man, things could be a hell of a lot worse. Although it's I'm not in, like, slavery somewhere. I'm not I have a nice apartment to live in. I have air conditioning. I have food to eat. All those things that are I think we kind of take for granted a little bit. And I just to me, I look at my faith, and it's like, man, the world is going down the tube, but at the same time, I have a lot of joy because of who God is and what God's done for me.
I think the takeaway is if you believe that this world is all that there is, then it is really easy to become, like, black-pilled and very pessimistic.
Absolutely.
But if you believe and know that that this isn't all that there is, that there's a life beyond this, and of what then you're able to endure. And I think a great a really good testament of a person's character is their ability to endure. So I say to you, brothers and sisters, endure as Christ endured.
Absolutely.
And so there's your pep talk for the week. So brought it back. Brought we were circling that drain. We were able to bring it back. So I think tonight was a very successful stream, and we didn't quite break our old record, but we did do 2 hours. So yay for that. Also, yeah, I mean, we are on stream 54. And we've been doing this pretty much every week. So that would make it past. We've been doing this for a year.
Yeah, it's been, man, I can't believe it's, I don't have a confetti to shoot off.
I know, no confetti to shoot. Or no banner to fall behind me right now. Right now.
Yeah. Woo.
No. Yeah, but it's been amazing. But yeah, it also, I think we should be proud of ourselves, because it is a discipline, and we're not, I'll admit we're not seeing immediate fruit, but we are definitely we are definitely having discipline, and we are definitely I think we're definitely doing that spiritual savings account, and I think our discipline and our persistence, it's going to pay off. And for those of you who got to the very end and are watching this, thank you for enduring as well. Thank you for persisting, and I wish nothing but blessings for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I mean, is there anything else you want to add there, Rob?
No, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I think I can't state it any better than that. And yeah, we've been kind of the last few streams. We've been kind of hitting on some really heavy topics, and maybe it's I was always a little hesitant to kind of go that direction, just because it's I didn't want to be another channel that's that talks about that stuff, because man, it's all over the place. But when it comes to some of the topics, it's there's no sometimes you have to do it, because something especially when it comes to kids. I know when people start messing with kids, that pisses me off to no end.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the few things where I really think that the death penalty is definitely something that should be considered for people that do that kind of crap to kids.
Yes. When it comes to children and the potential abuse or mistreatment of them, I'm with Robert. We cannot abide. We cannot let that abide. And so we have to say something. We have to push back.
Yeah.
Because me and Robert both have experience working with kids, and I have very young family. I have nieces and nephews, and it's I can't imagine anyone hurting them, or but I can imagine what I would do to said person if they ever harmed any of them. So. Let's just say that I would need a lot of tarps.
Go all Dexter on them.
Yes, I'll need a lot of tarps. All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you. I know we ran long, but I think it was an important topic to discuss and to push back on. And also, it's been a while since me and Robert actually talked, so. It was just a chance for us to get everything off our chests and to lay it all out there. So I hope you were entertained. I hope you were challenged. I hope I hope if you disagree with any of our stances, just leave it there in the comments. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for that day for that genuine hate comment. But in this instance, I don't think anyone could argue against anything that we had said. So
hopefully not.
Hopefully, yeah. Seriously, hopefully not. Yes. So don't forget to help us out.
So you can challenge us on the Temple of Doom comments. I'm totally fine with that.
Yes. Very good. Yes. That I am open to being pushed back on, but the other stuff, if one of those, I might have to visit you with some tarps. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. So yes, don't forget to thumb this up. It'll really help us get in front of more eyeballs, and also share this. I'll splice this up into clips later, but don't forget to share those. I don't think. I think we're gonna be taking. Rob show is gonna be on a little hiatus.
Yep.
For a little bit, but it will be back sometime in the near future. So just be keep an eye out. Don't forget to check out the other videos in our library, either the main podcast or our Nocturnal transmissions. Don't forget to follow us on our various social medias, Twitter @PodcastCOJ and on Instagram @Circle of Jerks Podcast. All right, and with all that said, for me and Robert, we will say goodnight.